Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday afternoon. I hope you've had a great day. I've had a quite busy day in clinic, but it's been very enjoyable. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming a friend of mine to our show, and she's actually going to be one of our speakers at Low Carb for Better Health this August. So I am excited to introduce you guys to Amy Berger. Hi, Amy, and welcome. So
Hey,
just
how you
so everyone
doing?
can kind of hear about Amy, she is a U.S. Air Force veteran and a certified nutrition specialist. She helps people do keto without the crazy, and you can often find her just by Googling keto without the crazy. She writes about a wide range of health and nutrition related topics, such as weight loss, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, thyroid function, and more. She's presented internationally on these issues and is the author of The Alzheimer's Antidote, The Stall Slayer, which I particularly enjoyed reading, and the co-author of End Your Carb Confusion. She is the lead nutritionist for Adapt Your Life Academy, where she helps create online courses and coaches people through implementing the low carb diet safely and effectively. And guys, I met Amy when I first kind of got into weight management. I kind of dipped my toes into weight management and slowly worked my way into making it broad low carb. And I started this online group, which many of you guys are a part of, our support group on Facebook. And I had just read End Your Carb Confusion, and then we did it as a group on our Facebook community page. And Amy was gracious enough to come on and just have a chat, to talk through the books and to talk through about uncomplicating keto and keeping it simple and how to make this a life change. And that, Amy, I so appreciated that you showed me that grace when I was new to this community. So thank you very much and welcome to us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm honored that you guys all read that book. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's still one of the ones that I recommend quite frequently. So give everybody just a brief synopsis kind of on how you entered this low carb world and a little bit of background of what led you to opening this keto without the crazy idea.
Yeah, well, I got into keto and low carb the way a lot of people do. I used to be heavier
Yeah.
and I was heavier. Like I was not born a keto nutritionist. I definitely was a career changer. And I spent many years trying to lose weight and doing all the things that I thought I was supposed to do, low fat diet, putting light margarine on my whole wheat toast
Yeah.
and lots of exercise. And I could not lose the weight.
Mm.
And I didn't really have any health problems because I was in my sort of early to mid 20s when I discovered low carb.
Mhm.
And so my health was okay, but I do have a family history of type 2 diabetes and stroke and cancer. And
Mhm.
I have no doubt that if I hadn't discovered low carb when I did, I would now be on my way to those things, if not already have them, or I'd probably have PCOS and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But long story short, I actually found the Atkins diet. That
Mhm.
was my entrance into all this, the good old Atkins diet. And I did not stick with it the first time. So if anyone watching has started and stopped and started and stopped a few times, welcome to the club of everybody. and
Exactly.
but finally it took. And I was in and out of a lot of jobs that I didn't find fulfilling, really didn't love. And it occurred to me one day, hey, wait, like nutritionist is a career. Maybe I could go back to school and get, training in that and help other people do this awesome low carb diet. So
Mm.
that is what I did. And now I coach other people. Like you said, I've written some books. And my whole thing with keto without the crazy is when I was brand new to this, literally social media didn't exist.
Mm.
That's how long I've been doing it. Like the internet existed, but Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, they didn't even exist. So it
Mhm.
was so much less complicated to
Mhm.
do this. And now I don't envy people who are new now. It's so overwhelming and there's so many different things being said that
Mhm.
my keto without the crazy is sort of trying to steer people back to how simple and easy it was back in the day, like when I was new. Because if I had to start it brand new today, I have no idea where I would even look to
Mhm.
trust.
Yeah, we try to keep it simple when we're introducing the concepts to people, stick to your meat, veg, and repeat kind of thing. But I often get clients that come in and they've seen this explosion of keto products everywhere, which in some regards I think could be good, but in other regards I think is not so good because it is highly processed foods and can be quite addictive. So people come in and say, "Oh yeah, I'm doing keto, but we're eating keto bread and keto biscuits and keto cookies and keto this and keto that." What's your general take on including those type products and if they help or hinder kind of that weight loss journey?
It's such an individual thing. Some people can include that stuff and do fine. But
Yeah.
I would say for the majority of people, that stuff really is going to get in the way. It's just a lot of slick marketing, and it's not as low in carbs as they would have you believe.
Yeah.
And that's one issue. And then there's just the quantity issue. You know, if you were somebody who in the past would have polished off the pint of ice cream, you're
Mhm.
going to polish off the pint of keto ice cream too. Like, ask me how I know.
Mhm.
You're going to polish off the whole tray of keto cookies. So honestly, really, to get the best results, it's best to avoid all of that. But that being said, there are people that can have little, little amounts of that and still do well. But for the most part, it's not a good idea.
Yeah. So one of those, definitely know yourself and pay attention to your hunger triggers and cues and things. And if you eat something and you instantly want another one,
Yeah.
probably not
Or I
the
mean, I will
thing.
say some of that stuff is better off for people that are a little bit ambitious in the kitchen. If you make it yourself, then
Mhm.
you know that this actually is low in carbs. This doesn't have all these weird additives that you couldn't even use in your home kitchen. That's even that can be trouble for some people, but that's, I think, probably less problematic than the stuff you would buy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you I've ever made anything in my own kitchen with like maltodextrin in it or something of that nature, but might
Exactly.
use a little
Yeah.
bit of stevia here and there that doesn't seem to trigger in that same way. Um, when you think back to the original Atkins diet that you did, because most people are more familiar with kind of the newer Atkins phase, but were there any sweets and treats and things like that that were included on that diet, just the original Atkins diet?
Yeah, if I remember honestly, most, if not all, of the stuff available in the store today didn't exist. So a
Yeah.
lot of those newfangled keto products didn't even exist. So they weren't an option.
Mhm.
I do think he allowed for like sugar-free Jello, diet Jello, which, my co-author, Dr. Westman, still allows for that on his food
Mhm.
list. And I think back then, there were a limited selection of Atkins branded bars and shakes, but the ingredients were very different back then. They were formulated differently. So there was some stuff, but it was really minimal compared to what's available now.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that I've faced with, and honestly, this is something I've faced a lot in the last 2 weeks when people come in and I'm showing in, I use food lists. These are our safe foods, kind of our green list, and here's our yellow list that these kind of are safe foods, but may not be. And then the red list is not your safe foods. But I've had multiple people get extremely emotional when they see these lists and start to say they're going to starve, that just automatically can't even imagine eating just these foods that are on this list and they become very panicked. Why do you think when people start thinking of removing things from their diet, all this emotion kind of comes out?
There's a lot of reasons, I think. Um, Some of it some of it is cultural. Like, for example, I have some clients that are, of Caribbean heritage or West African, and they were brought up on rice and plantains and beans. And to tell them, hey, guess what? You can't have those anymore. It's like, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
So
what am I
some
going
of
to
it
eat?
is just, yeah, like it's so radically different from what they've been doing their whole life.
Mhm.
And then, of course, like everybody knows, there's the addiction aspect. I mean, how will I live without my cookies and my cake and whatever?
Yeah.
And I think it is scary at first sometimes, but I think they also are more scared
Mhm.
because they haven't experienced yet
Mhm.
how much your hunger reduces and how much the cravings go away
Mhm.
literally within just a couple of days.
Mhm.
And it's so much easier to do than they think it's going to be, because once the cravings are gone and you're so much less hungry, it's
Mhm.
just not as big a deal as they think it's going to be. But they don't know that, right? Because they haven't experienced it yet in their own body.
Mhm. Yeah, I think there is that huge fear of being hungry that is out there, and some of that may come from food insecurities or traumas or who knows, or just the uncomfortableness of the feeling of hunger. What about the protein is one of the things that really fuels the suppression of that hunger. It calms it down. And so many people are just not used to getting adequate protein in the day. They think having a little petite piece of chicken is enough, or they're eating processed foods that have very little protein added to it. What are your best advice for people who are trying to really ramp up that protein amount and they're struggling with it?
I guess first they have to get over a lot of the old programming. Like you said, they're having this little thing and they say, "Oh, well, I have protein. I know I had an egg with my
Yeah,
breakfast."
yeah,
Like an egg, one egg, no wonder you're starving an hour later.
yes,
But
yes.
that's part of it. We've been conditioned to just not in the keto world, but outside,
Mhm.
that we don't prioritize protein, or we think we're getting enough protein if we have an egg with our oatmeal and cereal and toast, or a little serving of beans with our salad, and that's our protein. And I think that's most of it, is getting over that old programming. And
Yeah.
maybe for some people too, it's getting rid of the fear of things like red meat and
Mm.
sausage and things like that. Because, okay, some people, oh, I can have protein, like, oh, grilled chicken, right? Well, there's nothing wrong with grilled chicken, but there's also nothing wrong with fatty steak and pork chops either.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much socio-cultural stuff that we have with food, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There is. And, I tell people in the beginning, focus on what you love first. If you love shrimp, eat shrimp. If you hate shrimp, don't eat shrimp. You're not going to stick with it. And then build on it and try new things. You may like stuff that you've not had in a long time. Just because you hated it when you were 8 years old and your mom cooked it doesn't mean you're going to hate it at 30, kind of thing. Try new stuff.
My
What
my
is,
tastes have definitely changed, and I also think that with women especially, but maybe men too, but women especially, sometimes they say, "Well, I don't like red meat," or "I
mm,
don't like this." And I
mm,
have to push them a little bit and say, "Do you really genuinely not like it, or have you just been so conditioned that it's bad for you,
yeah,
that you have this, psychological reaction to it?"
yeah,
And sometimes that's it. Sometimes they do like it. They just so, I use that word again. They're just so conditioned to not eat it, or to not want to eat it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I can empathize with that when it comes to peanut butter. Not that peanut butter can be a slippery slope for a whole lot of people, but when I was in my younger years and restricting food in dangerous ways in my life, peanut butter was very fatty, and I wasn't going to eat that because it was going to be bad for me. But I honestly loved peanut butter, even though I said I hated it for years. So definitely can see that. So you mentioned in the beginning when we started talking the falling on and off, starting, restarting, that kind of thing. This is our third year of the conference, Low Carb for Better Health. It's held at Montgomery Bell State Park here in Middle Tennessee, which is a beautiful state park. Well, it's more of a retreat type environment. And we themed the year. This is the first time I've attempted to do a theme, and the theme is called Never Give Up. And honestly, when I chose this theme, you're one of the first people that I thought to ask of, because I've heard you speak before and speak towards these things. What is kind of your general thoughts towards what you're going to speak about at the conference? Give us just little sneak peeks into this theme of never give up and how you're going to speak to it.
I have and first of all, that's such a great theme, because how often do we see people who don't they don't give up. They kind of keep trying and keep trying, but they have that negative, like, this is never going to work. I'm such a failure. It's this just ceaseless inner monologue of doubting yourself. And that's mostly what I'll be talking about. I'm going to give an updated version of a talk that I've given in the past, that's all about mindset.
Yeah.
Nobody needs another food list.
No.
Nobody needs another fear-mongering video about this thing is killing you. What we need is help believing in ourselves, believing that we can do it, that we will be successful. Like that's the kiss of death on keto. It's not eating sugar once in a while. It's the defeatist mindset. And
Yeah.
that's harder to change than the food. It's easy to go to the store and buy meat and vegetables. It's a
Mhm.
lot harder to do this, you know?
It definitely is. And it seems like one little thing can set us backwards and reaching for that comfort food that's there. One of the things I like to talk about is food boundaries and rechanging your mindset around those. I give myself boundaries so that I can feel safe in them, just like as a parent, I give my kids boundaries so that they know where they're safe at, not because I'm trying to punish or whatnot.
Yeah.
And changing and thinking about what you can have and what you are gaining instead of all the negative sides. One of the last time I heard you speak, you used an illustration in your talk of a ladder. And I don't know if you're going to include that or not in this year's talk, but that has stuck with me. I think it was 2 years ago at Keto Palooza when I heard you speak, and I met you in person there. But just mention about that reference and kind of that mindset and thinking about that ladder kind of analogy.
Well, thank you for reminding me because I don't know if I would have included it, but I will now.
Oh, you so should. It was a good one.
So a lot of the people watching have probably seen this image. So I didn't create it. I can't take credit for it, but it's a side by side of two ladders. And there's
Yeah.
one ladder that has very, very large gaps between each rung. So in order to climb this ladder, you have to take these huge, giant steps. And
Mhm.
there's this other ladder that is just a little space between each rung. So you just do. It's much easier to climb up that ladder.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with sticking to keto or any other lifestyle or habit change for that matter. If you take on too much all at once, if you set your expectation too high and you're going to fall short and you're going to feel like a failure, you're going to use it as proof that you can't succeed, that you can't stick to it, and you're just going to quit. But
Mhm.
if you give yourself just little baby steps, baby goals that you can actually accomplish,
Mhm.
you start building confidence and self-esteem and momentum and there's another word that I'm looking for, consistency, that you are able to just keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's that is the key to anything. I mean, there's so many books about this and speeches. Like, not we don't want to set the bar so low that it's not a challenge at all, that like why bother, but
Mhm.
we can't set it so high that we're never going to make it. We have to like meet this phrase. I hate and love this phrase: meet yourself where you're at.
Mhm.
What is realistic for me right now?
Mhm.
And then do that. Don't, if you have been sedentary for 8 years, don't say, I'm going to start going to the gym 5 days a week for an hour. No, you're not.
No.
Maybe you could go twice a week for 20 minutes, or maybe you could walk to your mailbox. Like
Yeah.
if that's for some people, that's a huge step compared to where that. So it's totally personalizable. Like you have to set real goals that will challenge you a little bit, but that are still actually within your reach.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And you build on each one of those little successes along the way and build that confidence. We had a viewer that put in this comment, Carlos, and he said, Amy, I just had my labs done and it was disappointed with my insulin number. It's not gained weight back, but my eating habits are great. So I'm disappointed. And when I see that comment, I just think, it takes a while for the body to heal and it doesn't always heal the way that we want it to. But can you just speak to that disappointment when you've been working and then all of a sudden you have this metric you're trying to meet, you don't make it. How do you keep yourself going? How have you kept yourself going in the past if you've had a measure that you're trying to meet and you don't meet it?
Well, I mean, for Carlos, of course, I don't know the exact
Mhm.
measurement he's talking. Like, I don't know what the insulin level was, but I think, as this example, he said, I haven't gained weight back. My eating habits are great. So you've got all this great stuff going for you, and you're going to let this one number ruin that. You're gonna let the one number just
Yeah.
like take away from all the good things that are happening. And but so many of us do this, right? Especially with weight. You could say, my blood sugar is so much better. I'm off 2 of my meds. My blood pressure is better. I no more brain fog. But why haven't I lost weight? Or I'm not looking like, okay, like I understand why you're disappointed and frustrated, but don't let that negate all the good things that are happening, and that's when it's time to get curious and say, well, why aren't I losing weight? Or why isn't my insulin coming down? What else might I need to change? Maybe nothing, but we see, we do that. Amanda, I bet this happens to you all the time too. Those of us who have a social media presence,
Yeah.
you could get 100 positive, glowing comments. There's one jerk who says something mean to you, and that's the comment that clouds our whole day. Not the 100 nice ones.
Yeah.
We let the one mean person kind of ruin all that.
Yeah. 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 We do it in that same regard. But, and when I think specifically about insulin, remember, it's not all just about the diet. Yeah, that's a big factor. But like you said, there is so many things else out there that can affect it. Your sleep and your stress. And did you exercise before you went in to have this test done? I mean, lots of things can go into that. Are you taking a medicine that did something or a supplement that did something? So, don't give up. Just refocus and go at it.
Especially when it comes to lab tests, like unless something is really abnormal, like go to the hospital abnormal, one number by itself really doesn't give you a full appreciation. I like to say that like health is a mosaic and you can't understand what's going on by looking at one little tile. And something like fasting insulin is volatile.
Yeah.
That it might have just been a weird aberration that one morning it was a little higher than usual. So we have no idea. So he said it was 12, maybe it was 6 the day before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it goes up and down. All right. So I like to keep my Tuesdays kind of short, but I want to give you just an opportunity to talk about anything that might be in the works for you, or things that are new and upcoming, or for, just where are you at with your current professional journey?
I'm starting to get lit up even more to spread the message of keto without the crazy. So not to plug myself too much, but everybody, I do have my own YouTube channel. I think some of you are watching there right now. If you're not subscribed, check it out. Look up Amy Berger, Keto Without the Crazy. And because exactly like we said earlier, when I was new to this, it was so straightforward and simple. Ketone meters didn't even exist. CGMs didn't exist. They did have the urine ketone strips, but that was it. Nobody ever talked about macros. You couldn't get MCT oil, did not exist at the store. Like it's so, and I see people paralyzed with confusion and terror. There's so much fear mongering in keto, and I would love for more people to start seeing that it doesn't have to be that way. So that's my main push now. I'm working on a book. It's very slow going, but about thyroid. I'm very passionate about proper thyroid testing and treatment. So that's the book that's in the works now.
That's awesome. And as I mentioned, Amy will be with me here in Middle Tennessee, August 23rd and 24th at Low Carb for Better Health. You can find out more information about that conference at lc4bh.com. That's lc4bh.com. We're doing a Friday night VIP dinner, which those tickets are dwindling down in numbers. So if you want in, you might want to get one now. That is just an open question and answer and mingling with all speakers and a nice sit down dinner. Saturday will be kind of a conference format where each speaker will have some time to talk and open questions and answers with a low carb bento box for lunch, to take a short little break in the park, to enjoy lunch and to also socialize with the speakers and whatnot. I think we have a pretty amazing lineup this year. Of course, like I said, Amy's going to be there. Dr. Ken Berry and his wife, Nisha, are going to be there. Zane Griggs, who is an athletic trainer, will be there. I'm speaking with him next week. Dr. Christopher Palmer will be there, another great one to talk about never giving up. And Dr. Mark Cucuzzella, he makes some great talks on the same topic of never give up. And then Tia Reed and Roxanne will be there speaking on some food addiction issues. And so I think we've got a little bit of something to hit everybody. We would love to have you join us this year. If you can't join us, you can also buy the recordings and get all of the information for yourself. So Amy, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you again for showing me the love and grace you did at the beginning of my low carb career, and have a wonderful rest of the week. And everybody else, stay healthy.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.